Okay, I'm gonna show you my little routine with my starter since I'm doing it anyways. So this is my starter that I keep in the fridge between baking, and so that's this. I like using this spelt flour. I don't really know why I do, but I like it, so I just go with that. It does, like, this is organic and doesn't have pesticides, so I feel like the yeast, because you need like natural yeast on the flour for it to be able to form a good starter. So if there's a lot of like pesticides in the flour, then it might have like killed off the good yeast that you need, and it might not like become very active. So that's why I like using that one, because it's really clean, doesn't have any of that stuff. So, but it's kind of like a whole wheat. You can see spelt. So I just use it as the starter, but then when I like get a fresh starter going to make my actual loaf, I mix it with my bread flour. So I'll show you what I do here. Hope this video is not too long. So I like these little jars that I have for doing my starter. So here, when I'm just making a single loaf, I'm back. When I'm making a single loaf, I just use 25 grams of my fridge starter, my main starter that I always keep going. So measure out 25 grams. Okay. And then I do 50 grams of the bread flour. So when you're just keeping your starter, you do like equal parts starter, flour, and water. But when I'm doing this, sometimes they call it a levain, or I don't know how you say it, but you do like, I do 25 grams of the starter, then 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of water. And then mix that all up. And I like doing this at night, because then by the next morning it's like active and bubbling, and then it's ready to be used in making the dough for my loaf. And then basically that dough has the chance all day for the bulk fermentation. And then by later in the day, I'm ready to like shape it, and I could either bake it tomorrow evening or put the loaf in like the basket in the fridge overnight and bake it the next morning. And sometimes I'll do 2 loaves at once. Actually, I do that quite often. And when I do that, I do 36 grams of my starter, 72 grams of the flour, and 72 grams of the water. And I use that to make 2 loaves. But I'm just doing 1 loaf here for tomorrow. So I got that all done. and that'll sit overnight for me. So it'll be good to use in the morning. Ta-da! And then, so when I get that going for my loaf, I also feed my main starter that I keep. And so for that, sometimes I just do it in this jar, but like if it's kind of gross, then I do it in a fresh jar. And so for that, I like to do just this amount works for me. I like to do 40 grams of the old starter, and then 40 grams of the flour and 40 grams of water. So, and usually that makes enough that I can do a couple of loaves, and sometimes enough to do something else like flatbread or pizza crust or whatever. So many options, so fun. Okay, so 40 grams of that, and then since this is my main starter, I use this flour. I know it probably sounds so weird and complicated, but you get used to it. And then 40 grams of water. And I mix that all up, and then I'll leave this out overnight as well so that it gets nice and active. And then I put it back in the fridge so that it just doesn't require any more feeding until I want to use it. But right now for yours, you're going to be feeding it a lot more frequently just to get it going. But then once you get it active, this is how you like just develop a routine to maintain it and use it for baking your like loaves every few days, however often you want to do it. So that will go, these will go on the counter overnight. This one will bake my loaf. This one will then go in the fridge. So that is it. This video is probably going to be too long to send, so I don't know, I'll have to split it up or something. Good luck with your starter. Bye.